Okay, and we are live. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Difference Maker podcast. You've got your hosts, Matt and Chris Calderoni here, and today we're going to get into a very interesting topic about getting selfish to be selfless. Now, before we do, I just wanted to say, and we wanted to say thank you all so much for your support. We've been growing with followers, growing with subscribers, growing with downloads, and that's the most important thing to us because that means we are able, I should say, to impact more people. So thank you all so much. And if you haven't yet, please make sure to subscribe to our channel. Please make sure to share our episodes with anybody that you feel could use it because we are here to make sure that you get the most value. Now, before we get into this, Chris, anything you want to add into this to get started?
Yeah, I was going to say also not just the podcast or our social media, but you guys also have the option to sign up to our newsletter. It's the Molliteum Insider. The link is down below. It's just a simple email. We send out an email twice a week. So on Monday, it's a new topic for the week, and on Saturdays, it's a recap.
Right.
So anything that you miss, whether it be podcast episodes, blog posts, whatever it is, it's a great way to stay informed. And also, if we're going to add some new stuff in, it'll be found there. So
Absolutely.
Make sure you sign up for the Molliteum Insider. Again, link is below. Just need an email, first name, last name. You're good to go.
Good. So let's get this started. So this is a part 1 of 2 series. We're going to be covering the next part next week. But we're not doing, 5 things and then 5 things. What we're actually doing is 2 different perspectives. So we're going to start talking selfish to be selfless if you're an individual in an organization. All of us pretty much are, right? This means you are an athlete playing for a team. It could be a coach coaching for an organization. But this is really where it all starts. It starts with the individual, and then together we come together as a team. So what we're doing this week is teaching you how to get selfish to be selfless as an individual and how to help your team and have the biggest impact in your system or organization or group. And then next week, we're going to teach all of you how to basically do this from a leadership standpoint. If you are somebody who is running the group and so on, and how to let your people get selfish to be selfless, because this is probably one of the most misunderstood topics when it comes to human performance and development, simply because of the fact that people don't understand how to do this the right way. Right? So let's get started. So you're somebody who wants to be a difference maker in your organization. You want to have a major impact on the people around you. You want to feel like you have contributed to the team. Fantastic. Here's the problem, though. We often find that people don't have the impact they want. And what ends up happening is they buy into the conventional wisdom that the team must come first. You have to sacrifice everything for the team. And we'll talk about that after. And then as a result of that, they end up giving so much up just for the team, they forget to work on themselves. And when they forget to work on themselves, they then don't have the amount of impact that they want. They're not able to help the team in the way that they want. And they start feeling frustrated. But even worse, they start lacking confidence and not trusting themselves, and even sometimes forgetting how they got there and burning out. And this is wrong simply because of the fact that you shouldn't have to feel this way and you shouldn't have to buy into that conventional wisdom. It's absolutely naive to think, and this goes way back to even the days of the Roman Empire and the great Roman emperors, where they even talk about, Marcus Aurelius in his meditations, how he had to work on himself so much and put himself first to be better for other people and to really acquire skills so that he can help others. And as a result of that, he was able to do so. And you're going to be as well. And the thing is this, we see this firsthand with high performers like yourself on a weekly basis. Like Chris and I were talking about it. What sprung this kind of episode into action, obviously, was your guys' input last time that we had some clips of this. But more importantly, we had an athlete that we were talking to this past week who was going through this, right? And it was, I'm going to sacrifice everything for my team, da-da-da-da-da. And we talked about the history that he had on his teams when he was trying to do this. And it really wasn't as successful as he wanted to be. He made the flip last year, really focused in on himself, really bettered himself through this 4-step process we're going to show you today. And as a result of that, was able to be one of the top players on his team, contributed how he wanted, and more importantly, he felt fulfilled. So if we're going to do this the right way, we have this 4-step process we're going to give you right now. But you have to understand that getting selfish to be selfless, it really means working on yourself so you have something to give to others. And we're going to talk first about what this does mean and what it does not mean, and then we will give you the action plan.
And I would also say that it's also something where, let's say, the team's struggling, the team is going through a bit of a down spiral or whatever the case may be, and no one knows what to work on, what to do, how are we going to fix these issues. This is one of the best things that you can do as an individual. Imagine you had a whole team doing this as individuals, but they're working for themselves. That's how you get out of these things as a team, as a whole, right? So
Yes.
working on yourself, helping out the team, If you have a full team working for themselves, then obviously, they're going to help the team with a higher skill, right? So,
Well, hold on. Let's add some context to that because I can already see people taking that out of context. What he means is a whole team who has skills they are focused on building so they can contribute to the goal of the team, not just selfishness. And that's why we're going to get into very clearly stating what this is and what this is not. So, let's talk about what this is first. Getting selfish to be selfless. Let's break down the words. So, selfish. Selfish means you have a focus on yourself, right? Doing this for you, doing this for me, working on me. Great. Selfless means that you're giving to others. You are contributing. You are helping everybody else out. Where the common belief comes in is that you should just focus on helping others out. Where this is not the right belief, though, is in the following ways. If you are not working on yourself consistently, if you are not constantly bettering yourself, if you are not constantly taking the time out of your day to focus on making sure that you are happy, fulfilled, and certain of your skills, you will not perform at your best for others. You will only be giving others about 50% of what you're capable of. And then as a result of that, you end up getting frustrated. So, this whole thing of sacrifice and team first, you have got to understand that within context. The root of this all is very simple. A team is just a group of individuals who come together. I know that's like, Matt, what the hell? That's a basic saying. But it's true. So think of it this way, and this is what I'm trying to set you up for. If you have a team of individuals who come together to work towards one common good, and not all of those individuals are optimized, not every single one of them are knowing what they need to do, certain of what they need to do, excited to go perform, not feeling good about themselves, and you have about 50% of people who are feeling that way, guess what kind of results you're going to get for the team? 50% results. Now, if you have 100% of these players or people or staff who are working to better themselves consistently so that they can do their role more effectively and efficiently and productively and are able to be certain of themselves and are able to start taking liberties, you are going to have a team that is peaking consistently. And this is where I think a lot of coaches even sometimes get it wrong, is that it's this whole sacrifice for the team, but there has to be a developmental component going into the background. So the selfish to be selfless means you are working on yourself and creating value within yourself so that you have value to offer to your team in your role. So the point is this: when it comes down to getting selfish to be selfless, you have to make sure that you're able to do your job the most efficient way possible. Now, let's talk about what this doesn't mean, because this is where I feel a lot of people get this wrong and a lot of people aren't able to grasp this concept sometimes. So this does not mean you are just working on yourself and in no other way trying to benefit other people. That's called being selfish, right? That's called just doing it for you. That's called the classic definition of what it means to be selfish. When you are sacrificing others for your own self-worth, for your own gain, for your own personal, successes, that's being selfish. We are not talking about that. The key component to this is having a skill you are working on. Listen, having a skill you are working on so you can apply it to your team and help your team win. That is what it means to get selfish to be selfless. Now, let's talk about a real problem here. I think that there is a common belief right now going on in common day society, sports, business, whatever you want to call it, that all that matters is the company or the team. That is such a horrible belief to start bringing into the environment. Because the thing is, then you're going to have a bunch of weak people who are working for you or playing for you and not performing up to their standards, right? Like, I don't want a team of people that are uncertain of themselves. I don't want that at all. I don't want a bunch of people who are not sure of what they need to do, not, excited about their job, not knowing how this connects to their own vision. I want them to see Molliteum. If somebody comes to work for Molliteum, for example, I want them to see that this is part of where they want to go. This can help them get where they want to get to in life. But first, I need people coming in here optimized.
and I think I have a pretty good example of this. A lot of our players just coming out of the off season, hockey, anyways, just coming out of the off season, and one of the players that I speak with, he always had a difficult time managing, training and managing time away from training, right? So one of the big things that he was able to focus on, and he actually came out of this offseason much stronger for it, is the fact that he understood that, you don't have to be training 24/7. You don't have to be sacrificing time from your friends in order to get the most amount of training out of that day. It's more so when you're there, when you're in the gym, when you're on the ice, when you're on the field doing whatever it is for your sport, you need to be there 100%. And by doing that, and being able to walk away from that afterwards and being able to actually enjoy his time with family, friends, doing other things, fishing, golf, whatever it is, he was able to even grow that confidence knowing that he didn't have to be there all the time. You know what I mean? It's you can do this
Yeah.
and you can also have that second part of your life, which is very important. So that's selfish to be selfless. That's where even in the moment, that's where you're being selfish with your time in the moment for whatever action or event you're doing. Be selfish with your training. Be selfish with your time with your family. Be selfish with your time with your friends, type thing.
Well, even to kind of hit on that too, I think it's a very simple point, but it's like your one job as somebody who is contributing to the wins of a team is to be at your best. Plain and simple. Right? Like I don't want to hear it any other way. And this is where the old school belief even comes in sometimes with teams that I find where it's like, oh, they need to just, players need to just play a role sometimes. It's like, yeah, true. But here's the reality. If you slip a player into a role that they don't love and you're not communicating with them and helping them develop and helping them see how it's going to better them, and it's like, hey, you know what? You need to play this role right now. We're easing you into the team. We see this with a lot of freshman athletes, right? Especially when it comes to new employees, even in companies where they have to kind of do the lower end jobs to start learning the systems. I have seen coaches, for example, who, and this is kind of creeping into next week, but to start with it, I've seen coaches who have done a fantastic job at managing the players because they're very clear on their role, but more importantly, they have a development plan in place for them. And I've seen coaches who do it in a horrible way and they just cast players aside. Right? I've also seen that in organizations where organizations don't forecast a future for the people that are there. And all of a sudden, here's how the mind of the individual works. And maybe you found yourself in this situation before where it's like, oh my gosh, there's actually nothing there for me. And that's when you lose the individual, right? So without going too deep into it, this whole point of getting selfish to be selfless, you need to be at your best to do your job as best as possible for your team. If you really want to contribute, you've got to get selfish to be selfless. So how do we do that? There's 4 musts that we cover, and we're even doing a blog post on this after too, so you'll be able to see it. But let's start with it. So the first part to getting selfish to be selfless is first understanding the impact you want to have on your team. This all starts with an intention, right? I have never seen anybody who has been selfish by accident. I've only seen it happen on purpose, meaning that they only care about themselves, they only think about themselves, and they are only looking out for themselves. Now, if you are somebody who is in this situation right now, you need to realize something. I get it. You're grinding as an athlete and trying to make it to the next level. You're grinding to try and become the company CEO one day. Sure, totally understand it. But you've got to realize in both of those situations, your results are directly measured by the impact that you will have on the group, right? So if you're just selfish and you're not in any way having an intention of how learning those skills are going to help the rest of the group, that's not a great plan for you. So all of this has to start with an intention on how you're going to impact the group. What do you got?
Yeah, and also bringing a purpose to every training session as well. So once you have that clarity on what you're doing in order to impact the group, like that's when you can go fully in on the intensity with that training session, right? It's when you don't know or when you don't have that idea of what you need to do in order to help out the group. That's when it kind of screws with you a little bit.
Well, yeah, and that's again where you have to get intentional. Like what I was trying to say before is you got to get intentional with the impact you want to have. So, for example, the reason, and we'll give you 2 questions in a second that you can answer. But for example, the reason that I want to be better with, I don't know, my skating if you're a hockey player or my 3-point shot is because I know that the team needs me to deliver on this consistently. That right there, if you were to go up to your coach and be like, hey, coach, I'm going to take an extra 20 minutes today and work on my 3-pointers. Hey, coach, I'm going to take an extra 20 minutes today to work on my skating. Hey, coach, I'm going to take an extra time to do blah, 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 blah. But that direct connection makes you more valuable instantaneously, right? It's like us. Like we started as a 2-man coaching company that's now branched out into a pretty big consulting company now that's going out and online programs and all this stuff. But the point is, we started with one skill and then said, what skill do we now need to add? And we've constantly been asking ourselves this question to now impact more people. Oh, well, we've got to learn how to really have an impact on the group. And now all of a sudden it's like, great. So I'm working on myself. I'm blocking out time and so on. And I'm working on that, learning that. And now we're able to do it with the group. And there was another skill and another skill. This is how you need to look at it. You've got to start with the end result in mind. How am I going to impact the group? Okay, great. So there's two questions.
And
Go
I
ahead.
think like everyone thinks, this pretty like it's pretty common knowledge, like why weren't you doing this before type thing, but like it's something that you should try to figure out. Like it seems simple, it seems super simple, why are my actions affecting the group, but it's something that not a lot of people ask.
No,
And it's a big difference when you do ask that question and answer that question and take that into your training session, as opposed to just kind of doing what, like showing up on a Tuesday because coach told you to show up on a Tuesday.
absolutely.
It's much different.
It's
Much
getting,
different.
and it's making time for yourself, right? Like genuinely prioritizing bettering yourself and being excited and fulfilled and enjoying yourself each day.
Well, yeah,
That's the
because
point
when
of
you
this.
think about it, I mean, when you actively think about it, like you own it, right?
Yep. Well, and this last thing I'll say goes into the confidence issues we see with a lot of athletes, right? Or performers. It's not the fact that they don't want to be good. It's not the fact that they don't want to be better. It's not the fact that they purposely try to lose confidence in themselves. It's that they don't make time to work on themselves and they think that confidence just stays. Listen, confidence is something that must be worked on daily, right? Like I even find myself when I miss, let's say, a week of learning, like I learn for at least an hour and a half each day. I have set aside time in my schedule to better myself. And not just with working out or whatever, but I mean actually working on skills. But it's like, I know when I miss a week, if it gets really busy in the business and we got to deal with something and, we're launching a product or whatever, I feel like crap after that week, right? I feel dazed and confused the next week coming into it. I'm losing myself. It's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And it's like I have better mechanisms in place now for that. That was something that would happen before. But my point is, when you don't take time to work on your confidence and work on yourself, which is exactly what this is, you're not going to be able to contribute as best as you can to the team.
And I think that's simply because like you don't own your time.
Yep.
Like the time is up in the air to whatever project or coach or team, like whoever you're working for or playing for or training for, whatever it
Yes.
is. Like you feel like you don't own your time. And when you feel like you don't own your time or your schedule, it's taxing. It's very taxing, both mentally, physically. Like you become exhausted because you I don't know. For me personally, it feels like you don't have control. And
Right.
it's just like, okay, knock this off, knock this off, knock this off. And then what's next?
What are we building?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but when you understand what the building portion is, what your role is in that situation, like it becomes so
Feel-
much easier.
Yeah, you feel fulfilled. So there's two questions we're going to go into, and then we'll get on that point exactly on the emotional meeting in a sec. But two questions you got to answer right now. Number one, what does my team need? What job does my team need me to perform for them? That's the first question you got to start with. If I want to contribute, what job do they need me to do? They need me to be an offensive contributor. Great, talk about that. Maybe if you're in a corporate setting, they need me to be fantastic at deadlining or reaching out to vendor, whatever it might be. First question, answer. What job does my team need me to perform for them? Question number two, you're going to answer right after that. What skills go into, sorry, the question after this task is what skills do I need to master in order to be efficient at my job? That's it. So you're going to answer those two questions right now. Okay. Let's go into the second step of this. So once you have your understanding of how you're going to impact the team and exactly what skills you need to work on, we'll talk about scheduling those in a sec. The second thing you need to do is create some emotional meaning behind helping your team and get excited about it. Because the problem is this: a lot of times we see players or corporate individuals going in to organizations. I think we talked about this in a recent podcast episode, but they're looking for their organization to give them meaning behind their job. Worst thing you could do. You will not get selfish to be selfless if you're doing that. Here's what's going to happen when that goes down. You're going to be working. You're going to hate every minute of it. You're not going to apply yourself fully. And then you're going to be disappointed because you're not contributing to the team the way you want to. You need personal, emotional attachment and meaning to the job. You need to fight for a mission, a purpose, and a cause, but something that's specific to you. So what I mean by this is you need to get understanding of how you will feel when you help your team do this job or get this result. We've had a lot of athletes come through the door that just walk in and say, I want to be a top scorer. And when we say why, they say, I don't know. And as a result of that, they might get off to a hot start. And then all of a sudden, when the going gets tough and they're in month 2 of the season, they drop, right? That's the reality. But those individuals who have a very clear understanding of how this will help them feel something different, what they care about, what their cause is, what their purpose is within that organization, and what their job is attached to, then all of a sudden it becomes where they're able to perform for the entire season. In fact, this is exactly why whenever we start with clients, one of the first things we do is help these individuals get very clear on their purpose of why they do what they do. So you need to ask yourself 2 questions. Okay. Number 1, helping the team will make me feel, fill in the blanks. It will make me feel accomplished. It will make me feel successful. It will make me feel even just good. It will make me feel like I have purpose working for the win. How will it make you feel? What are you looking forward to? And question number 2, what will it help you avoid feeling? Right? I don't want to feel like I don't contribute. I don't want to feel like I don't have a role on this team. It will help me feel that though when I get to work on this. That is how you create emotional meaning, and you need that selfish emotional meaning in order to work on yourself.
And to be honest with you, like it's something that like we've obviously trained before. When you're in the heat of the moment, like training, and I don't mean heat of the moment, like you're emotional or whatever, but like when you're training and when you're going through your reps and doing all that stuff, it's easy to forget why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
So just having that understanding, not during your practice or your training sessions, but like maybe even a downtime during it, you're getting water or right beforehand, and just thinking about it for a second, it makes it go that much easier, that much better, to be honest with you, because then you have that reason for being there again.
Yeah. Well, let me even give you a common example. Like this is the easiest one I can give. So step 1, let's go to this. Let's pretend you see an elderly person on the street and they're about to walk into a building, the same building you're about to walk into, and you run ahead of them and go open the door. Right? Okay, so right there you just assessed your impact that you can have on this individual. I'm going to help them open the door. But you also internally assess that impact where it was, and this is quote unquote selfish. This is not a negative thing, but your internal impact was going to be, oh, you know what? I want to help them because it's going to let me feel this. It's going to let me feel good when I open the door. That's what it's going to help me to do. It's going to let me feel like I did the right thing. Right there, you've got a selfish to be selfless act. It's simple, but we don't look at it like that at the high performance level. We often just kind of cast it aside and say, well, you should be feeling a certain way or not, whatever it might be, right? So those 2 questions you've got to make sure to answer. That way we can get into it. Now, part number 3, I should say to this, or must number 3. Once you understand what impact you can have and why you want to have that impact, now it's time to get certain of your skills and to schedule time to work on yourself. This is the major point behind getting selfish to be selfless. So all you want to do now is go back to those skills that we spoke about or that you discovered in the first part of this all, right? What skills go into this? And what you're going to do is you're going to simply create a small plan for yourself in order to better those skills. So we highly suggest pick one skill and master it for 30 days, then get to the second one and master it for the next 30 days. The reason being, you're now going into this full immersion type of training and bettering yourself instead of just nitpicking certain days, and maybe you get better at one or the other. So what you need to do here is very simple. Isolate the one skill right now that you need to work on first. And then all you're going to do, we've talked about this in the past, so we're not going to go too deep, but you need to visualize yourself with that skill and being successful with that skill 10 minutes a day. Make sure you're doing that 3 times a week. Okay? Pick some time, sit in a quiet corner. You can use a guided audio, whatever you want to do, but you need to visualize yourself performing that skill well. The second thing you need to do, before you even go into that, I should say, you need to study this new skill first, right? Athletes, you can watch other people who perform the skill. That's how you study that skill. You can get a coach who can teach you more about that skill. You've got to learn about that skill. And for business professionals, you've got to go make sure you're putting in time to learn that new concept, skill, ability, whatever it might be. There's billions of YouTube videos that you can go watch. All you need to do is go to the Google search and search it in. So you're going to do that. So you're going to study the skill first. You're going to do your mental reps. And then the third part, you're going to physically go practice those skills, right? 3 to 4 times a week if you're an athlete. If you're a business professional, you want to be scheduling those skills daily. That's what I do. Daily for me. When I was an athlete, I would go to the field 3-4 times a week with my brother. I would practice certain things like footwork or whatever it might be and really master that skill and go in on that skill so I could be better for my team. So the questions you're going to answer there are very simple. Well, there's not really questions there. What I would suggest is you pick that one skill, like we said, know who you want to study or know if there's somebody that you can call in to help you study. Do your visualization 3 times a week and really make sure that if you're a business professional, you're working on it daily. Or if you're an athlete, 3 to 4 times a week, schedule a block of time, 20 minutes a day, and get to work. Very simple stuff. So the last part now. So think of it like this. You've got an understanding of exactly what you need to do in order to have an impact on others. You have a purpose behind that. And on top of it, you're scheduling time now to work on yourself. And that's where you need to get very selfish about it, right? That's where you need to take the time and say, hey, for this hour that I'm working on myself or whatever it is, when I'm doing my mental reps, when I'm working on myself physically, I'm going to prioritize that first. Everything else out of the way, right? Great. The last part now then is to make sure you have daily actions you can take to have an impact on your team. The only thing you need to do for this, it's very simple. Go back to the first question and ask yourself, what is my job? What 1 to 3 things do I need to do consistently every day for my team? If you just need to be the social media poster for your team and that's what your role is in the organization, make sure you break that down. It might be as simple as scheduling something, creating copy, or whatever it is. Know your job. Just narrow it down to maximum 3 things. If you're an athlete, I'm guaranteeing you can narrow this down to 1 to 3 things because we do this weekly with our athletes. But all you need to know how to do now is how to have the best impact for your team. What role do they need you playing? What are you doing out there that will help them win? Right? That's the reality of this all. You don't have to try and stretch it to 20 different things. You just need to know the role that you need to have within your team and go execute it now. Because here's what you've done. You've now built some certainty behind yourself. You're now sure of yourself. You're now sure of the skills you have. And now you can go perform.
I was going to say that's probably the biggest thing is because I'm sure you know as you watching and we know this as well, but one of the biggest downfalls for any player or anyone in any position, whether it be in sports, life, business, whatever it is, it's when you don't know what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
And it's very crippling. It's makes it very difficult for you to act. So understanding and having that certainty, like you said, for knowing exactly what you should do, like you don't have to rely on others for this either. Maybe you have to first go ask your, the coach or the leader or the boss or whatever it is, what they expect of you or what they need you to do for that team. Maybe you have to understand that first. But once you do that, I mean, you don't have to rely on anybody else. You can just simply stick to scheduling out your time in order to make that skill or better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like creating that certainty for yourself, it's going to relieve, I think personally, a lot of anxiety for you. It's going to end any questions that you may have, and it's just going to allow you to be certain and clear and act on exactly what you need to do.
And that's where you go out there and you crush it, right? That's the end point of this. Now, there is a bonus topic on this that we have to cover. The major bonus part of this is the following. You need to also make sure that you're taking the time to step away. This is probably one of the most abused parts, we'll say, of the high performance world, which is working too much, being too in the fire, never taking your head up for a second to see what's going on around you, being so in it that you forget to relax. Here's why relaxing is important. Creativity happens when you're able to pull away and just think. A lot of the times, what do we see with high performers? They move way too fast. They don't take the time to chill out and slow down. And as a result of that, like Chris said at the start, you're just checking things off a to-do list. We don't want that. You don't want that, right? So what we suggest is that you take 1 to 2 days a week and you step away. Drop the phone, get selfish over that, forget about the work going on, forget about the team, forget about the performances. We've got an NFL player that we work with who does a fantastic job at this, and I commend him for it. Fantastic, because he's able to really make sure he's not overdoing it. To really do this well, you need to make sure you're taking the time to relax.
And I think what you'll see as well is the fact that you're able to step away from it. It's going to help you grow your confidence within that skill. Like you do not need to be in it all the time for you to build that skill, but just having that confidence, like to be able to walk away and say, you know what, I've done what I've needed to for the day, and then hop back into it. Like number one,
You feel fulfilled.
you feel fulfilled, but you're also excited to kind of get back to
Yes.
it. Like I remember the first time that I was figuring out when I was really young how to shoot, how to kick a ball with my laces and really ping it across the field, like have a nice, solid backspin. And it was just like every time you left the field, like obviously I wanted to stay there to continue to do the repetitions, but you leave, you get excited to go back the following morning, and it's just like, damn, you know,
Yeah.
it's it's exciting. So I challenge you to whoever's listening, like try to work on your skill for that allotted time, put the intensity into it, get excited, like walk away from it once you have that confidence of, you've been doing the repetitions properly for a certain amount of time, and then see how excited you get to come back the following day. Like it really is, it changes your perspective on the whole training aspect of anything that you're
Well,
doing.
think of even the basic processes of learning, right? Like the basic process of learning is that you need to have some time away to absorb everything you've been doing and understand what's going on and see your adjustments and your adaption, sorry. But the point is, like Chris is saying, there's got to be that cutoff time. That's why we always say with our pro athletes, like, the reality is you go into training, you train 3.5, 4, sometimes 5 hours a day at the very most. And that's 5 hours including everything, right? That's 5 hours including the recovery sessions, the strength sessions, the extra physio sessions, or whatever you have, and then the actual team sessions. My point is though, you have to respect that time, because the moment you start trying to do more for the sake of doing more and not shutting it down and enjoying yourself, it's not going to work. Hey, look at the great Tom Brady. He always talks about it. I start my day at 6:37 in the morning. I start watching film. I then go to my facility. I do my practice. I do whatever I got to do. By 3 o'clock, I'm done. Out. And that's Tom Brady, right? I'm done. I'm off. I'm doing my stuff now. I finished my day. I'm going to be Tom Brady, the dad. That's it. So you as a performer, as a high performer, those clear cutoff lines, you've got to be excited to go back to it the next day. Otherwise, you are going to burn out. You've got to give your sport or profession the respect it deserves, which is understanding it is a part of your life. It is not your life. That's how I've seen the best in the world do what they do. People that are well-rounded, people that are able to get different perspectives are the ones that stay in it. So you now have this understanding of how to individually get selfish to be selfless. You want to make sure you're resetting these skills once every 30 days. You want to be asking yourself consistently, what do I need to keep working on so I can be of better value to others, so that I can essentially A, get paid more, or B, get to the better teams that I want to work with. That's the reality of this all, right? And that's okay. But if you want to do this, get away from conventional wisdom of you got to give everything up for the team, and start to realize the only way you can be the best for your team is that you put yourself in such a peak state that before you get there, you're sure of yourself, you're confident of what you need, of what you got to do, you're sure of your job, and you go crush it when you get there. And when you're done, you get the hell out of there, chill out, enjoy yourself, and repeat again. Right? So if you enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, click the notification bell, share this episode with anybody who needs to hear it, because we do live in a world where we sometimes get manipulated to believe that the only thing you should be giving up for is the team. Okay? Work on yourself. Put the work in on yourself. We are giving you permission to stop doing what you've been doing up to this point if you have been getting in these ruts and confidence is going up and down and whatever. And we are begging you to work on yourself and telling you Molliteum has your back. Go work on yourself. And if your coach has a problem, tell him to send us an email. Right? But you can find all that stuff down below. The Molliteum Insider, you can subscribe to it. Please make sure you do. We've got all free trainings that come out weekly. And more importantly, be sure to tune in next week, because even if you're not a leader yet, but one day you want to be, you need to learn how to let your people get selfish to be selfless so they can be the best versions of themselves. Take care.